Okay, do you guys have any doubts in the previous session?
Sunil.
Yeah, yes, Karmula.
Okay, share your screen.
Yeah, I just shared it. Can you see it now?
Just that.
You can see it, huh?
No, no have.
Yeah, I shared my screen, yeah. What about others? Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, bro.
Okay. Okay, guys. So I'm good to start the session, right? So you don't have any doubts from the previous session then. So in the first session, we have discussed about requirement analysis, right? So the second phase of our STLC software testing lifecycle is test planning. So this is the place where managers and leads will come to a picture and they'll decide who has to work in the project and which resources need to be selected, what would happen if we select these resources, and how we are going to plan this project. So everything will happen in this stage only. Okay, so basically the test planning, I just given you the definition here. In this phase, the managers and leads play a bigger role since they already seen the functionalities and they are very clear on what to do. So when there is a project coming for us, then what most of the cases, what management will do is whoever is expertise in that particular product or that functionality, so those people will be picked for the project so that it is easy to deliver on time. Correct? If I don't know anything about the project and they are taking me to that project, then what happens? It will take long time to me to understand and work on it, right? So what management do is they'll select the people who already experienced on that particular domain or on that particular functionality on that particular product. Okay, so that's the first step. First step they took, and there are a lot of things we do under test planning. So the first one is effort estimation. So what you guys understand about effort estimation? I sent you this yesterday, right? I asked you to just see it in YouTube or something somewhere and try to understand. Did you guys seen it? What you know about effort estimation? Anyone have any idea?
In time to complete the project.
Sorry.
I understand that effort estimation is nothing but the time taken to the total testing process for the project.
Correct. Great. So
In time to complete the project.
okay, let me explain. So estimation is something how much time will it take to complete the project. When we talk about project, we'll at high level. Yeah, can everyone go on mute, please? Prakash, can you please go in mute? Yeah, so estimation is something how much time will it take. That's it. So when it comes to our testing, so we already discussed on the earlier day, we have the requirements which is written in business requirement document. So the requirements will be like this. So in a testing perspective, how would we written the estimates are? Let me show you practically. Let me name it as estimation. Sorry, effort estimation. So I basically have the business requirement documents, and it has the requirements right down. So serial number 1, and I have a requirement here, and estimation in hours. So let me take the first requirement. So what is the first requirement for us here? So log in to Amazon account. So this is our first requirement from the customer. So I'll write down it here. So before we give the estimates, we just need to identify how many cases that I'm gonna return on this requirement, number of test cases. I'll tell you what is test cases and everything in later sessions. But as of now, just understand how many number of test cases. This is just an estimate. So the name itself saying us, right, effort estimation. Here we are not going to give the exact time, how much will it take. We're just giving an estimate that this much time it's gonna take to execute this requirement. Okay, so we'll just give estimated count, say for example 5 or 6. Okay, let's say 6. So I'll write 6 cases for this requirement. So for these 6 cases, how much time will it take in hours? Okay, so we basically work for 8 hours in software. Okay, so to execute these 6 cases, to write and execute, so we have 2 phases, right? If you see here, the third and fourth phases of our software testing lifecycle is design and execution. So design comes to test case preparation, test execution comes to test execution. So whatever the cases that you have written in the design stage will be executed in test execution stage. Okay, so we have to give effort for both design and at the same time execution. So how much time will it take? So let's say for example, to execute only this requirement, I take 4 hours of time. Then it will be 0.4 hours, or yeah, I can give 4 hours, correct? So this is how we have to give our estimates for each requirement. So I just given my estimation for only one requirement here. Okay, so like that I have thousands of requirements in business requirement document. I just given you example here. Okay, I written only 4 or 5 requirements here. Like that we have thousands of requirements, or it's not thousands of requirement, it may be 100 or 50, so like that. So we have to write down all 100 requirements here, and we have to provide the estimates to them. Okay, let's say, sorry guys. So let's take example. So in this, I'm just giving you an example, guys, just understand it. So here it will be 10 cases, and it will be 10 cases and each requirement, and it will take 6 hours here. Okay, it will be in hours. I given it in the heading, right? So just follow it. So at the end, what's the I mean, how many hours I'm getting would be the matters. Okay, so when we are giving it to the client, so this document will be the effort estimation document will be given to the client. So we are giving estimates to the client saying that these many hours we actually need to do our testing. To test an application, these many hours we actually required. So when we do sum of all this, So it will be 378 hours. So to execute 18 requirements, okay, to execute 18 requirements, I need 378 hours. So this is how we will give the estimates to the client. This is what we called effort estimation. Any doubts in this one?
How can we estimate the hours to test the project?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
How can we estimate the project time?
No, you asking like how can we estimate these 4 hours?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, see further, that's what I said. So the first step what we take here is we'll select the leads and managers who is experienced in it, right? So that's what I have written here. So in this case, they have already seen the application, or they have already know about the functionality. So in that case, the leads will suggest you. In most of projects, only the test managers, either the test managers or the leads, is the one who prepared this effort estimation. We as the normal testers, the test engineers won't do it. Only test leads or test managers will prepare this effort estimation. We only give them a support. Okay. So in that case, since they already know how it works, they might have already know that how much time it took also. Correct? Have you understand?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Any doubts, guys? Again, effort estimation would be in Excel only. Okay, this is how we prepare. It might have different columns, but these columns would be yeah, enough to you to tell them in the interview. Can I go ahead, or do you have any doubts still?
Yes, you.
Okay. So the next thing would be test strategy document. So the one which I'm talking about is in manual testing. So we follow a different procedure in automation testing when it compared to manual testing. So I am only talking about the manual testing right now. We will see how it will be followed in automation testing also in the later sessions. Okay. So here the test strategy document preparation, the strategy in the sense how you are preparing for the testing. Correct. I'll give a best example here. So most of you guys see and play cricket, right? So let's say for example IPL. So we have a match KKR versus Chennai today, correct? If you want to bet in IPL, you have to select one team and you have to bet, right? So if, say for example, you have 1,000 rupees in your hand and you want to bet in any one of the team. So what would be your strategy to select the team in this case? How would you think that this team will win? What would be the strategy that you follow here in this case? Can anyone tell me?
According to
Someone is trying to speak. I can't hear.
according to players.
Previous records.
Sorry.
Previous records.
Previous
Of team.
records. Good. Great one. Next.
Batting ability.
Betting ability. Great.
Batting ability.
Great. Next. Next. Everyone has to speak. Can anyone guess what would be the next one? Next one, guys. Can anyone please? Okay, let me tell you. So we will see the bowling attack, and we see all rounders,
Team effort.
team effort. Great. What else we see?
Pitch
Cap
condition.
Pitch condition. Great. Next. Captain. In CSK we see only captain, right? So when we do a strategy on to which team I have to bet, I look into many things, right? I just like that go and won't bet 1,000 rupees into any one of the team. I look into many factors here. So how is the bowling? How is the batting? Who all rounders were there in the team? What's the pitch condition? Will it support to the batsman who hit? Will it support to the bowling? So we will look into many things when we are doing something. So in the same way, when we are testing an application, we will be looking into many things here. So when Prasad said that previous records, so it's a very good point. So we will see how many matches Chennai won with KKR, right? So that we can easily bet how they are playing against KKR, so that we can bet on Chennai. In the same way, here in testing, we have to select the resources who is already experienced in that product, the one which we are going to work, so that it is help the project manager to complete the things on time. Correct? So resource planning is the first thing. So when we are planning the resources, we have to select the resources who is already experienced in it, so that we can deliver the things on time. So that's how we can match this with previous records. Okay. And we have to determine the roles and responsibilities to the resources. So when we are selecting the resources into the project, we have developers, we have testers. Under testers, we have test engineer, and we have test lead, and we have senior testers. We basically have, we call freshers as testers, test engineer, and we call senior testers as senior test engineers. Okay. So we have to define the roles and responsibilities of them. So here we will be giving roles as batting, bowling on particular person, right? In the same we will give roles and responsibilities for each and every resource who is going to work in the project. Okay, but we only talk about the testers here. We doesn't bother about the development team. So I just given you test engineer, test lead, and senior test engineers, and then at the end we have test manager. Okay. That comes here, determine the roles and responsibilities of the resources. And this third one is tool selection. See, tool selection is something like, say for example, I am select, sorry, the project is Amazon. Okay. To work on this product, which tool would be, sufficient, or which tool would really help us to track the things perfectly. So when I think on this one, as a normal tester or senior tester, we have very less idea on which tool has to select. Okay. But the test lead or manager have much experience in the product. They can easily tell us which tool would be good for this project. Okay. So we have different tools we use for test management. We call it as test management. We will discuss what is test management in later sessions. But test management, so the everything we do is comes under test management. Okay. So to do this, we have a tool like Jira. So Jira is a test management tool where we can, write our test cases. We can track our status, whether it is pass or fail or blocked or something, whatever it is. We can raise defects. Okay, so we have another tool also, HPALM. There is another tool. We have another tool like test trial. So these all tools The purpose of these all tools remains same. There is no difference. Everywhere we'll write test cases. As a tester, we know we need only these things. We have to write test cases, we have to execute and track the status of those test cases, and we have to raise the defects. So every tool here would support all these functions. But which one would be the better one for the project will be finalized by the test lead and test managers, okay, because they have much experience on the product that we're going to work, and they know that which one would be the best option. Okay, that is tool selection. And why they are selecting the particular one is only based on their experience, and they would think that that would be the best option. That is the answer you can give in the interview. Okay, and the last one is training the resources who is very new to the domain. So we have to, as a test manager, we have to accept and we have to think in a way that we have to support the new joiners as well. So every time we cannot recruit the experienced people because the budget on the project will be high. Okay, so I don't want to take you into the budget thing, but just I'll tell you. So say for example, the project, for the project, it's been allocated as 100 crores. Okay, so we should be able to complete the project within this amount, so that our company will be benefited, right? So for that, what our company would suggest test manager is, we can have 3 senior testers and we can have 2 test engineers, so that they they can bill a higher amount here. So let's say for example 20 lakhs per month for 3 senior testers, and it will be 5 lakhs for 2 testers for 1 month. So there is a lot of difference here, right? So there is a lot of difference in billing. So here the company will be benefited since they are paying very less amount to test engineers because they have less experience. Okay, so for that we should have we should definitely support the freshers as well. So whenever we recruit freshers to the project, they don't have any idea on the product that we're going to work on. So they don't have any idea on Amazon. So that time what the test manager has to do is, he has to train the resources in that product, so that he is ready to work on the project. Otherwise if he don't know anything about the project, if he don't know anything about the functionalities that we're going to work, what he will do? He don't do anything, right? So for that we have to train the resources and make them work in the project. So that is the main thing that every manager has to do, and every project should have a fresher, so that it will be benefited by the TCS, the one who is gonna, I mean the one who taken the project. Okay, so any doubts in this list, the one which we discussed right now? Any doubts?
I have Sunil. Go ahead.
Okay, Prasad, Prakash, Janardhan.
Bro, can you repeat the determine the roles and the responsibilities to the resources?
Okay, see, say for example, in a project, I have 5 resources, Prakash. Okay, 1, 2. I just
Okay.
given a number like this. So everyone have a different designations in the project. Okay, one
Okay.
can be test lead, one can be you know uh, test manager,
Testing.
test engineer,
Yes.
and senior test engineer, and then test engineer. So these we call as roles. Okay, so
Roles.
these we call as roles. The designations that the company give is called as roles. Okay, we can say it
Okay.
as designation also. So when it comes to responsibilities, we will be discussing it in the later sessions, but I'll tell you responsibility.
Okay.
See, responsibility is something what they do. So as a test engineer, what I do, I'll I'll
To
understand.
test the application.
Yeah, to test the application, I have to write the test cases, right? So
Okay. Okay.
I'll write test cases. So I'll execute the test cases. I'll raise defects. I do regression. I'll tell you all this later, okay? But these are the responsibilities. What I do,
Okay, okay.
what I do is my responsibility. So as a tester, I'll write test cases. As a tester, I'll execute the test cases. I'll raise the defects. I do regression testing. So
Okay.
these all are my responsibilities. Okay,
Okay.
great. Any questions?
No, bro.
Prasad, are you fine? Still have any doubts?
Fine, bro. No, bro. Clear.
Okay, Sai, do you have any doubts?
No, no, bro. Fine, I'm fine.
Well, Janardhan? Okay. And so these all are tracked under test strategy document. So we will be creating a test strategy document. It is like a Word document where we have write down all of this: resource planning, determine the roles and responsibilities, tool selection, training the resources. So everyone will be write down in a test strategy document. It's kind of Word document. Okay. So in test strategy document, we have a few more fields as well. So those were in scope and out scope items for testing. Okay. So how can you identify it is in scope or out scope? So first, did any one of you know that what is in scope and what is out scope? Okay, can anyone tell me in scope?
Availabilities, bro.
Availability. Yeah, can you explain somehow broader? Okay, let me tell you. So here I write down the requirements, right? I have written 4 requirements here. So in these 4 requirements, when I was reading, so what is our first phase in our testing? Requirement analysis, right?
Log. Okay.
So what is requirement analysis? I have to read the requirement very clearly and understand. If I have any doubts, I have to raise the clarifications, correct? So in this phase, when I was reading the requirement, I have to understand that whether it is testable or not. Okay. So when it is testable, then if you know that this can be tested under this release, then we can call them as in scope items. So those can be tested in the release, those will be called as in scope items. Those which cannot be tested on that release, then we call that as out scope. So all in scope items should be tested and should have status. All out scope need not to be tested in that release. This can be carry forward to the next release. I can say, when I say release, in the sense version, okay? So in the first version, I'm not going to, if I'm going to test it, then it will be in scope. If it is not going to test, then it will be carry forwarded to the next release, that is version 2 for the same product. Okay. Understand, guys?
Can you explain outscope?
Sorry, your voice is not clear.
Can you explain again outscope?
Okay.
Give
Okay.
example.
Let's say, for example, say, let's take third requirement: search for the product based on different categories. Okay. So this functionality is not implemented when they are developing the code. It's just an example, guys, just to understand. Okay, don't relate it with your Amazon right now, just to understand what is out of scope. So this requirement 3 is not implemented when they are writing the code. Okay. So for that, uh, if it is not implemented, then we cannot test, right? We cannot test. We cannot test, but it is right, but it is written in the requirement. It is written in the requirement, but we cannot test. So those will be called as out of scope. They have given it in the requirement, but that is not implemented. Then we'll mark that requirement as out of scope. So in a project lifetime, we can identify these out of scope in 3 times. I mean, there are 2 times where we can identify this. The first, where we can identify this in the first stage where we are writing the test cases. Okay. In the second stage, we have written the test cases, and when we are executing, when at the time of, I can write at the time of execution. So when we are executing, we found an issue that this requirement is not implemented. So what we used to do, if the expected result is not matched with the actual result, we will raise a defect, right? So when we raise a defect, so that would go to the developer to fix it, right? So when it go to developer will say that this particular functionality, this particular requirement is not implemented in our code. So that time we'll mark it as out of scope, since it is not it is not testable in this release, and this can be tested in the next release when we are developing the next version. Shafi, any doubts? Any doubts, guys? See, it can be more understandable when we are talking about the real time. Okay, don't worry about it. If you still have any doubts in scope and out scope, please let me know. Okay, so these we have already seen, resources going to work in the project, roles of each resource. The third one, the last one is reason for out of scope. See, when we are making one requirement is out of scope, we have to tell the client, see, client has given these requirements. So client doesn't know that which one go in out of scope and what is the reason